Welcome everybody to another video of Vinyl Addict. This is Chili and this is part 6 of 7 of my 100 favorite albums from English artists. And before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so with that out of the way, we're going from numbers 25 to 11 today, and we're starting off with number 25 with Jesus Jones. This is something very fun, actually, coming out in 1991. Now, this album, in America, we were kind of like going through all that kind of grunge explosion, and these guys were kind of just doing something new, whereas, a grunge is coming from an old kind of style of music. They're kind of just meshing kind of like heavy rock and punk and everything, and these guys were pretty much taking music somewhere else. And the song Right Here Right Now was a big success, international hit, and this is a pretty nice looking orange vinyl. So the album is Doubt. And so I'm going to try to get through these really quick here. So there was Jesus Jones at number 25. Now number 24 we have Joy Division's Closer. This is their second album. Came out 2 months after Ian Curtis, lead singer, committed suicide. Half of this was recorded in the later part of 1979 and the beginning of 1980. Half of the songs have heavy synthesizers, while the first songs that were written in 79 are more kind of guitar driven, and this would be considered a post-punk release. So this is Closer, and this one came out after the non-album single Love Will Tear Us Apart, and of course after the demise of Ian Curtis, the rest of the band would form New Order. Now, coming in after that, we have The Cure's Pornography at 23. Now, this is their third album, and this is supposedly their more darker period. And there was a big depression that Robert Smith was going through here. The song is 100 Years. I think the album starts off really great with that song. I mean, what is the first line he says here? It doesn't matter if we all die. So this is, but it's really, it feels very upbeat though, for even though the lyrical content may be a bit on the dark, depressive side. I do love The Hanging Garden. That is still a classic. A Strange Day, Pornography. A lot of this stuff that I started liking, like on the concert album, and that's that period, and so they were playing songs from here. So Pornography, The Cure. Now we're going into the Clash's debut. Now this debut, actually, this is the 1979 American edition. So this came out second in America in 79 and 77. It was given enough rope for some odd reason. So they did that in the UK. This was out in 77. So they kind of switched it around. But this album I like, because it was more 3-chord rock on here, 3-chord songs. There's a couple of songs here that started that kind of reggae thing, and that's a cover of the Police and Thieves song from Junior Murvin and Lee Scratch Perry. But for the most part, it's a lot of 3-chord rock, and Garageland is really cool at the end. Remote Control. I'm so bored with the USA. Just the lyrics are pretty funny on that. He kind of just talks about that all we watch are like detective shows like Kojak and Starsky and Hutch, and that was back in that time, that period. So there's the Clash's first album, and another first album is The Damned, and this of course has Neat Neat Neat. That's a great song. This whole album from top to bottom, back and forth, is great. This is the first, I guess, punk album prior then to the Sex Pistols and the Clash and the Ramones and everything. First came the Damned. Okay, so after that we have Tears for Fears, The Hurting, and this is their first album. And what I like on here is The Hurting, of course, Mad World, Pale Shelter, a lot of singles on here. Suffer the Children, Change was one of them, but I do love Memories Fade. That's on the first side of the last song on side one, and of course there was two different covers. This is the cover with just a duo in the front. The other one would just have a white cover with the little child, just kind of miserable. Okay, so now we go to Iron Maiden, Killers. And this album has the first singer, Paul Diano, and Clive Burr on drums still. And of course, the next album would have Bruce Dickinson and Nico on drums. But this was a really good album, I thought. You know, it had some instrumental tracks, but they still played Wrathchild. That's a classic song from here, and I love the cover. I thought the cover was the first Eddie. This is the second album. The first Eddie looked kind of like okay, but they really found Eddie on the second album, the artist, and it was really cool. And there you have it, Killers. Now we're going to more kind of, I wouldn't say new wave of British heavy metal. They didn't consider themselves that, but we have the power trio of Motorhead, and this is the classic lineup with Fast Eddie, Clark, on the guitar, Ace of Spades is on here, Love Me Like a Reptile. This is Jailbait is a great song on here as well, and The Hammer, and this is when they're really coming into their own, and it's very more polished than the previous two, but however, this is them at the top of their game. They would continue to do other albums, of course, without the original Magnificent Three right here, but Lemmy will keep it going. So, but for at this time right here, this was 1980's Ace of Spades. Okay, so now we're going into, I believe this would be 17, and this is the cult Sonic Temple. So this is the album where they just kind of put together their Love album and Electric album. They just kind of put it together for this one, and this is what you get. This is Sonic Temple. This is pretty much their biggest selling album. This is when they brought them to arena rock in that level. The song Sun King is on here, Fire Woman, ED, Sweet Soul Sister. My favorite songs are like Soul Asylum and Medicine Train is great. This whole album is really killer. No filler, and this is a blue vinyl because they kind of added like the B-sides on here and everything just to, this is a 30th anniversary edition of Sonic Temple. I love that cover though. So there's Billy and there's Ian, and in the back you got Jamie Stewart on bass. This would be the last pretty much lineup where they're all English. They would have American people coming in, but this is the last time you would have them as an English band. Okay, now we're going into their next Duran Duran first album, and number 16. Okay, so this is the English edition, English version. So you have always a different track list, and so we got Girls on Film, Planet Earth. The American one starts with Something I Should Know, which is a cool song, but it's not on here. We do get To the Shore on this album, but Careless Memories is great, Night Boat, Friends of Mine, and so this is a great debut from the Fab Five, Duran Duran. Okay, so number 15, this is a perfect album. We got Amy Winehouse's Back to Black. This came out, I believe, in 2006. And she kind of had this she's a jazz singer. This was her second album. This is the one that she got all these awards for, and you know, she died of alcoholism, but this album is perfect from beginning to end. Rehab, You Know I'm No Good, Me and Mr. Jones is awesome. I like Some Unholy War is really great. Tears Dry on Their Own. This is a classic album. It'll never sound dated, sound old. It'll just always sound like right. So there we go. And next up, okay, we got number 14, Deep Purple's Machine Head. Now, this is the album with this famous guitar riff of Smoke on the Water, which Ritchie Blackmore said was Beethoven's fifth backwards, you know. So that's what he's claiming. Highway Star is on here. Lazy, which is a great song. Space Truckin'. Now, this is a German pressing, and I liked it because it had the lyrics on here, because the American one never had the lyrics, and so it comes with this little insert poster, which is cool because I couldn't really decipher what some of the things Ian was saying, but now I do on Highway Star, so it was really cool. So Machine Head makes it. Now, number 13, Queen, Sheer Heart Attack. This is my favorite from this band. This album is just rocking from beginning to end. You know, with Brighton Rock, there's just all this cool stuff that Brian May is doing. And the first side kind of like all the songs kind of connect. Starting from the Tenement Funster, which is a Roger Taylor song, and they all kind of segue together as one piece. Of course, Killer Queen is on here, and Stone Cold Crazy in the Lap of the Gods, and then there's a revisited version of that at the end. This is just a perfect album from Queen. Okay, now we're going to number 12, and we have another German pressing, and this is the Who's Tommy, and this is, you know, they pretty much in the late 60s didn't really follow. I mean, they kind of at some point had some kind of psychedelic songs like I Could See for Miles and things like that, but they just pretty much went on some weird kind of different trajectory. They were doing like rock operas, of course, and talking about themes on here that other bands weren't talking about, such as child molestation and things like that of that nature, starting from this album. And all the songs are just this one story of this kid, Tommy, who cannot, he's deaf, dumb, and blind, but he could play the pinball machine really good. And this was one of those albums that I just, when I first heard it, you know, because I didn't like the song Pinball Wizard. I just used to hear it on the radio all the time. I just thought that was kind of like a corny song. But then when I heard it in its contents with all of this complete album, I was just like, wow, that's powerful. And it makes a lot of more sense. And the album is great. Pete Townshend's a genius. So there you have number 12. And we're going to end it off with number 11. We're ending it off with, of course, the Fab Four make it now. The Beatles, Revolver. This is my favorite album from theirs. And Taxman by Harrison. But that guitar solo is really awesome. That's Paul McCartney doing it. I'm Only Sleeping is on here. You know, a lot of people don't like Yellow Submarine, but I think that was probably one of the best of the Ringo songs. You know, Tomorrow Never Knows, of course, is like at the tail end of this, and it's sort of like leaving the listener with a promise of what's going to happen in the next album, because it's sort of just like, wow, that is pretty interesting, you know. So John's Tomorrow Never Knows ends it. She Said, of course, is great. This is a great album. So I left at number 11, Revolver. There's 10 more. And so that will be on the next video. What are your thoughts on this? Leave me a comment below of my numbers 26 to number 11, or 25 to number 11. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.